Hello again, and welcome to the latest podcast in the series presented by All About Danville. It's a courtesy of Wilkins & Company Realtors in Danville, Virginia. I'm Chuck Vipperman. Hampton's watching us from the next room, I think. I don't know. He's probably monitoring us, but he's out on business today. But we have a very special guest today on All About Danville. Ken Larking is Danville City Manager, and if you're not from Danville and you live in, say, a big city where the mayor is the chief executive, Danville has a city manager form of government where a hiree, not someone who's elected, is the chief, really, executive officer of the city. So mayor of New York, mayor of Chicago, city manager Danville, same thing. Ken Larking came to the city 10 years ago as deputy city manager, now city manager, and he has had I know him, he's going to be self-deprecating. He's going to defer credit, as he should, but we're not going to let him get away with that. Ken Larking has had a hand in a lot of the good Renaissance stuff that we've been talking about here on All About Danville, which is really changing this city before our very eyes, and we'll get him to talk about that. 10 years, when you mentioned that to me before we started, I said, wow, time flies, but yeah, the math doesn't lie, does it? 10 years.
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
Tell us about that, yeah.
Well, 10 years ago seems like a blink of an eye to
Sure.
me. But it's probably because it's been such a great time.
Yeah.
Not that everything has been smooth sailing, but for the most part, I've really enjoyed being in Danville. I've never lived anywhere longer in my entire life.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I can claim this is home. I don't know.
We'll let you.
Well, thank you.
I don't think. I think that's you sound like a couple of friends of mine that were, Army brats in their case, and they just, 2 years here, 3 years there, and they went to college for 4 years. This is home now. I've lived here, but yeah, you have been, of course, as city manager, centrally involved in a lot of the stuff going on today. And we're going to start really downtown, because I think what's happened in the River District is probably the biggest obvious visual evidence that people have of the difference between, say, we'll talk about a 15-year time slot here, between 2008, the recession, et cetera, and now. The most visible difference is what the River District looks like today. And my friends who know how libertarian I am are going to be incredulous at me saying this, but it was a perfect marriage of government sparking private enterprise. It was a vision that I think predated you, but not by long. But it was an idea that, okay, we have an opportunity as a government, because we could do a few things that others can't, to spark this development. And it's a theory that you guys really stuck with, even in times when it didn't seem like it was going very swimmingly. But the fruits are there, and we're just getting started. Tell us about the River District.
Sure, you're right. It's been about 15 years,
yeah.
And that was before I got here. So I give credit to those who had the vision to go forward with investing in our downtown.
Yeah.
As the story goes, and some have heard it before.
This is a great story, and it's perfect. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, there was an executive that was considering moving their industry into our community, not downtown. Obviously, it would be somewhere else. But as part of their trip, they do a lot of due diligence, and he was with his wife, and they were driving through downtown, and she saw a lot of empty storefronts, boarded up places. She saw what I saw when I first came to Danville, trees growing out of the sides of buildings,
yeah.
and things like that. And they decided that if this community didn't care enough about itself to invest in its downtown and make it a nice quality of life, then they weren't investing in our community. And that was a huge wake-up call for the leaders at the time. And as a result of that, the Danville Regional Foundation sponsored a trip for people in the community, including members of City Council, to go to Greenville, South Carolina, which was a community that was not unlike Danville a few decades ago.
Right.
Former textile community, had some loss in industry and that sort of thing, and they had a downtown resurgence. So it was a see the possible trip, and
right.
They saw the possible, and they said, you know what, if they can do it, we can do it. and we can learn from them and maybe do it faster.
And the proof's in the pudding if you look downtown. But the idea behind what the city could do, what council could do, again, because of just the nature of the way we do government here, is you have an opportunity to do things that you can take risks that private investors cannot or will not. You mentioned you go down the Main Street with trees growing up out of the buildings, you're not going to be too keen about. You're not going to see the possibilities. Let's put it that way. But government can absorb that for a while and see that vision and make it come true. And that's kind of what we did.
That's exactly what happened. And there are a few tools in our toolbox when the private sector isn't responding, which wasn't happening, obviously.
Sure. Particularly on the other side of a recession, yeah.
That's right. I mean, if you got buildings that are owned by private individuals and there's nothing in them and no interest in going in there, then the private sector isn't working. Yeah. And Danville is an isolated city, so it's not adjacent to a large metro area, and we can't benefit from the growth that would occur from an expanding Raleigh or expanding Charlotte or Winston-Salem or Greensboro. So we had to do it on our own. And thankfully, there were people that looked at the tools that were available, including, accessing historic tax credits, some programs at the state level, VDOT funds to help with streetscapes, other things like that to help make kind of an attractive place for our downtown. And then also to use funds from the city to help spur development by encouraging the right kinds of businesses to locate. So, it takes the right mix. You can't just go, okay, we're going to put 15 coffee shops downtown and hope they survive.
Right.
Well, that's not going to work, right? No. We don't have enough people drinking coffee to have 15 coffee shops. So, strategically, based on a plan that was developed, they said, we're going to help a coffee shop be successful. We're going to help a boutique clothing store be successful. A restaurant here or there, depending on what kind. You can't have 14 pizza joints. You got to have just one and then something else and something else and something else. On top of that, if you're encouraging residential development through some of the historic rehab of our old tobacco warehouses, you've got this group of people that are moving into the downtown. So
that to me, that's the biggest difference. I mean, in 2008, the number of people living in what's now the River District, you could have counted on two hands. Nowadays, we're over 1,500 now,
that's
I think.
Right.
It is. That's not a move forward. That is a giant leap forward. That is a metamorphosis. And that creates foot traffic. Those people need to eat. They need to buy things. And that's chicken and egg right there. And to me, the residential component is of all the amazing things about the River District, that's the most amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Every time we work with a developer to redevelop a property and they start to get to work, the word gets out, they start pre-leasing.
It's full.
Before they're finished, they have all their leases.
Yeah.
So that tells you the market wants to live downtown. Yes. So, and if we can help in some way make that happen, then we're glad to do it. And we don't do it, without some thought to it. I mean, right now, if you look at, say, the tax base in the River District, of all the historic tax credit projects downtown, most of them residential, then those properties were generating $25,000 per year in tax revenue.
These are going to be some big numbers, folks. Just waiting for this.
So now those same properties are $500,000 in tax revenue.
Incredible.
And so that's year after year after year.
Yeah.
And the values of the properties go up every year because, things are happening and it's a good thing. They're not falling into disrepair and, dilapidated. They're actually appreciating in value. And so you get the return on investment. So we put a grant forward or whatever, but it comes back, because the city's going to be here for a while. And we try to. Right now, we're looking at 5 years as our return on investment period. So if we put something in, we want to get 5 years worth of tax revenue back.
If you have any other private sector investment that can give me a full ROI in 5 years, let me know about it because that doesn't happen very often.
Well, and then every year after that is just gravy.
Sure. And to me, the residential component just blows me away because, again, I saw what it was like before and for many decades before. But also, you have done, again, targeted intervention in some of the little soft changes of the sidewalks on Main Street. You used to walk down Main Street like this, 1 foot on the curb if somebody came the other way. That's just not inviting. Now, yeah, it's a sidewalk, no doubt about it, but if you're talking about a business district, it's not inviting. Everything that has been done in terms of streetscapes, sidewalks, other little niceties has had an almost psychological effect on people where Main Street might have been foreboding with the hill there and the narrow sidewalks and all this. Now it seems like it's beckoning you. And that's people who know far more about this than we do that say this is big, but you can feel it. It is big.
Yep. And of course, we got recognized recently with the Great American Main Street Award. Appreciate Diana and the River District Association putting that forward.
We're going to have her on. I don't know if we got enough tape to record her, though. She'll go on to use our capacity.
That's right.
But yeah, it's been remarkable.
Yeah. And, I think about, back when I first started, and the storefronts were less than 50% full, probably closer to the, much lower than that.
Sure.
And it wasn't inviting. And so and unfortunately there was a reputation that it wasn't safe. So a lot of people in our community wouldn't go downtown because they didn't feel safe, they didn't feel invited, and it didn't seem like a good sense of place. So having some infrastructure put in, brick sidewalks, trees, planters, that kind of thing, it makes it feel like a place you want to be.
Sure.
And with more people, it feels safer. And so that kind of builds on itself. And it doesn't happen overnight, but I think we're at the point now where most people can walk downtown and feel very safe about where they are. And, that's something that we can be proud of.